Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. Empowered harmonizers, yes. Today we're going to zoom in and focus in on a great viewer question that is to sort of unpack and understand what is covert narcissist, adverse communication, passive aggression, what sort of manipulation tactics, what sort of symptoms do you see that are sort of showing up in the body, sort of keeping something alive in you that is negative, damaging, or it feels like it's gnawing at you. It might be a burning, an unhappiness, either manifesting on the ends of the spectrum like anxiety or depression, or sometimes like listlessness and sort of like a paralyzing, sort of stuck, can't move on, sort of waffling around. What does that mean? Just to sort of be like just sort of keeping your ground but not going anywhere, sort of treading emotional water, but knowing you want to exit that said water. You don't want to be in this sort of negative pool, or feeling that you're sort of re-attracting the same problematic communication. In other words, is there a pattern then? Once this is set up sort of in your identity, meaning like what you feel you're capable of, a lot of different things, especially emotionally, your energy and motion. So either are you going at the right pace, what you feel is best for you? Are you doing it gracefully? Are you moving? Are you realizing when there's too much aggression, too much quiet, passive aggression, which means indifference, apathy, not doing anything at all, sort of a withholding, a withdrawing, just sort of like zero-sum game, 0 words, 0 hugs, no reciprocation, no giving back of support. Literally, and the brainwashing that occurs, meaning the understanding that is processed or registered like a transaction, like you get a receipt and you're looking at it and you're like, why am I negative? Like, why am I indebted all of a sudden? And I'm like, I have to keep showing up, and I have to keep proving myself or changing something. There's no B state. There is no basically symbiosis of emotion or allowing of experience of such. There's always a tension that the covert narcissist will sort of have as kind of like a slinky or a spring mechanism. It sort of springs up on the individual. And before we get started, I do want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Huge shout out, virtual hugs. Thank you so much to, you know who you are, TW. Thank you so much. And yes, we're going to get to more here in a moment. And also, you know who you are from way across the seas, AMA. Such a pleasure to hear from you. Actually, my heritage back in my ancestry comes from your country. So it's really fun to hear from you. Thank you so much for your donation. And also to MA, thank you so much for your donation. You know who you are. Thank you for your contributions and support. It's an honor and a privilege to sort of come here and unpack these things. Why? Because you can't do it at the Starbucks. You can't do it at Lifetime Fitness. They don't have an app for it on whatever sort of Peloton or computerized apps. You're not going to find this at the grocery store where you go, oh my God, I just have this fear and I don't know where it's coming from, or I have this discontent or this heavy negative emotion, and sort of it's wallowing in me. It's sort of like you feel it's a water like emotional drowning, like you're just sort of not getting oxygenated. This is putting out sort of some sort of terms, which is a symptom of brainwashing, which means someone is trying to defraud you of your existence, telling you you're something when you're not, And this can be very convincing, meaning they want to override your I am structure. This is not, we are not making this up, okay? The channel is not here to be goofy. We might have some laughs, but this is very dangerous. This is very shattering. This is very demoralizing. Okay, this can put you in a funk, not just like, oh, a little cupcake is going to cheer me up. We're talking about seasons long, years long, decades long, and it sort of carves out a deep negative balance in your emotional, stability. And a lot of it is a result of experiencing covert narcissism and that sort of lack of communication, meaning outwardly, so where it's acknowledging and validating your feelings, your experience, your I am, positive, negative, wherever they are on the spectrum. You should be able to flesh that out there and say, this is getting creepy. Pay attention to those feelings. Usually they're pushed down and repressed and covered over with cement or generations long problems of relating. You see it show up in the holidays. Let's do something different. If it feels bad, then it is for a real reason. The problem with covert narcissist communication is the manipulation of brainwashing, trying to convince you of something other than it isn't. Isn't it such a wonderful day? No, you're doing well and I'm not. It's not wonderful over here. Okay, it must be wonderful up there where your head is, 30,000 feet up or wherever your head is. In there, oftentimes, it's why is it precluded? Why is there just sort of a glass wall? Why is there just this feeling of lack of flow, lack, of you're getting your info in and they're reciprocating with a basic common sense, as simple as a cheers. Hello, how's the weather? I mean, it should be uncomplicated. The problem with brainwashing and covert narcissism, these people are very firm on their understanding that they are not going to change, no matter what. For anyone, no how, no can do, it ain't happening. They are written in stone, gold, platinum, diamond, wherever it is, they have their path and God love them for it. That is their internal conviction that they are committed to. And it will permeate every situation. So you are not the bad guy. You are not the bad girl. You are not the cause of this abuse. You are not the cause of this lack of communication. It's not because you're a bad listener. It's not because you're good or bad looking, male or female. Grades, no grades. It is not because of anything that you have done, said, or anything that you can correct. In other words, the problem with the brainwashing is the communication that the narcissist is basically untouchable. They are they're on cloud 89. They're way up there floating and soaring along, and that is who they are, no matter if it's right or wrong or what they do to others to get there. A turning of a cold shoulder, not acknowledging. These are little covert, meaning, not out in the open. An overt narcissist, they'll walk right by you and they'll just sort of, they'll communicate that they're walking right by you. Like, you'll just get to know that their back is always turned to you, but you can be in a marriage with them. You haven't seen their eyes in perhaps 3 decades, but yet you're in a, air quotes, relationship, and you're supposed to start off the new year, make new resolutions. You've given up because the brainwashing, it's like your I am isn't there. It doesn't register. It doesn't compute. It doesn't come out on the written receipt. They can't see, acknowledge, and validate, certain things. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you felt alone then. You felt very alone, and this was, scary. Like, they're able, in other words, if they're in a romantic relationship where it commonly shows up, if not in the workplace, but a close relationship, meaning the setup is all theirs. You're basically a prop, a cameo, a skip through, a quick whatever it is, microfiche, macrotosh, whatever it is. You're just an apple on the table that gets eaten and thrown out. And, it's just sort of not, you don't feel that there is any heart that is extended into the relationship that is supportive or energizing, meaning they are scared to death to acknowledge and validate others' feelings because they have a pathological sense of self-importance and coupled with a lack of empathy, which means they don't have the ability. So if we kind of understand the brainwashing, they will lie on the day-to-day about just the most insignificant of things and just do it through their teeth, which means they know better, but it's something that can cause a negative reaction in others, and so they sort of get a little power hit from reestablishing. It's kind of like an emotional battlefield. I am the one, but you're supposed to be on equal turf, living on the same, as if you didn't earn being listened to, you didn't earn being looked to at, and eye contact, skin contact is highly imperative for the healthy evolution of the organism. If you look back in studies that they always study in psychology, is a very famous study of infants in I think it was in Mexico or nunnery. In other words, they were caring for a lot of infant children who had been basically either abandoned by their mothers or given up for adoption to, and a lot of them had maybe drug addiction already fueled in. So a baby was born with addiction, and so they had all sorts of these vulnerable populations where you might sort of relate to. But they did a study to show sort of the growth in the net pound weight by ounces, pounds, etc., and then the survival or thrival of said infants. And the sort of control factors were food. Okay, you're going to need that to nourish your body. Okay, that's, and as well as eye contact and physical contact. So what would the addition or subtraction of food and eye contact, physical contact, rocking, holding, cooing, oh, aren't you so cute, giving that to them, because that's how they develop a relationship. There's a release of oxytocin, a neurochemical. You don't get this at the Walgreens, Macy's, some sort of Amazon, okay? You don't, and you can't substitute this for any pacifier, any Amazon order, eBay, whatever truckloads you have showing up at your door to pacify, or maybe this Covert has all, anyway, why doesn't it go smooth? Because of this passive aggression sort of, if we look at these infants, those infants, it was a significant difference, which means in psychology, it has to be significant. Like they do a lot of statistics to determine and emphasize, could we replicate this? Is it meaningful enough? Is it statistic? And yes, those infants who were just even withheld food, okay, and given very little ounces, but who were held regularly, eye contact, sat rocking, cooed, coddled, eye contact, those little infants, those little babies put on more net weight with fewer servings, and then a study which deprived those infants and only gave them a food and like a wire hanger, sort of cold, almost like a shopping cart, like this is where your food is coming from. Eventually, those babies started to die and wither. That is how significant. You can't live a relationship on Starbucks and Subway and Olive Garden or Chipotle or whatever sort of external object that this person is brainwashing you to substituting acknowledgement and validation in a relationship for it to be healthy and strong. Brainwashing, telling you something is okay when it isn't. This is just their personality, or, explanations. This is just how it is. This is just their personality, meaning this lying behavior. No, we don't have any food for dinner. This is all you've got. Make the best of it. Stop complaining. Lying to you. I don't have time. That's a good one. I can't do this. They don't want to learn something new. Or they'll wince in sort of pain, or they'll have other outlets where they'll break a leg, they'll break an arm, cut themselves, slam their arm, and then all of a sudden sort of the sort of subconscious attention is resonating back with generally something negative that you're supposed to have compassion for. So it's like you develop this very unhealthy combo in the neurochemical system as a substitute for that, that oxytocin, that regular bond. You shouldn't have to work, jump through hoops, put on a belly dance, do the splits, a backflip, give an expensive gift, go into debt, feel guilty, feel bad, not grow, feel stifled and hurt and wounded so that you can't leave the scene of the wound. It's like there's something, a person has a commitment that keeps them stuck. It's like there's a neurochemical sort of development. I equate it to, if you remember in science, like a test tube. Let's pour in this, let's pour in that. Oh my God, it's steaming, it's bubbling over on the table. You just passed your science test. You just created dry ice or whatever it was. So the combo is like you're being required to pay hyper-focused attention to yourself getting lied to, abused, not given your needs met, something wounded, a punch. You know what I'm talking about, physically, emotionally, the cold shoulder, you don't get the words, you don't get something as much, the withholding, and you will feel depleted. You will feel resourceless. This is learned helplessness. This is where that you're sort of learned that anything you do or say won't change or help you grow out of this negative pattern. It's very much like the study of the elephant, and you study this in psychology also, where an elephant is then tied to a post. It's legged to a post, okay? And it's walking around. Now, that little baby can go anywhere, be anything. It could make some friends. It could hoot and holler, learn how to feed itself, play. Oh my God. A symptom, we're going to get back to that, is a lack of play, comfort, and sort of that loss of spontaneity or self-consciousness. So it's like you're always, just sort of wondering, is there something else that I should do to be better or to be, so in other words, there's this embedding, just like that learned helplessness. I'm showing it to you so you can understand the feeling in the body, and you can, I really want you to take, we're gonna do a takeaway a little bit so that you can eliminate some of these sort of constricting, literally, people who armor themselves, brace up. You're drinking a cup of coffee and your arm is so stiff. You go out there and your stomach is just, you're getting in the car, you're sitting, everything is, or anxiety, you're, everything kind of, then it's your leg, then it's everything kind of sort of clenches on. You haven't learned or been able to know how to relax or the value of such. Oh, that doesn't have any value. To be relaxed, to be, okay, to exist, just to sit in a zero-sum game, neutrality, peace and harmony, contentment, everything's okay. Okay, that state is like, everything is like a hot potato. okay? And you get used to being habituated to being communicated and related to that way. So, meaning the habit, the feeling can be very embedded or internalized that you have okayed it. Meaning you consciously said, well, I really need to stay alert now because I really need to stay anxiety now because I need to get angry now because, and then people find themselves, I'm angry, like, and then they complain to me, and then they say they have all these statements, and then they're like, but I don't want to be feeling or hearing these ruminating thoughts. This is troubling me because it's going to pop out somewhere and I don't know where, and I don't want that to happen. So you got to talk about this to people. I think back in the day, coffee shops, you used to talk about stuff, or at the kitchen table or different settings. It just didn't always have to be this way, especially with the advent of this, of the devices, because it's completely depersonalizing and causing you to live a lie, very much like the top down in a system from a covert narcissist system, business, family system. Okay. Oh, isn't this so much better to just text you and emoji you rather than coming over? It begins to repress, and then oh, it's okay. Just let's have a FaceTime. Let's just have a, and then everybody is so lazy. What are you doing here? It's just like, if you had a couple days, you'd get pretty nervous, because you're supposed to be keeping up with some alter reality, and so the brainwashing, like I say, is a parallel. It's very deep and dangerous. It's getting you to accept some negative alter reality, which eliminates the power to walk and be freedom, among other things, and love, without your knowing, but your passive agreement. Okay, this is scary. Okay, I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm trying to help you to understand why it becomes a zero-sum game. It basically depletes your needs out, and you're getting so used to people being or living without their needs being met that they don't even know what they're missing. In other words, they're so living in denial that they can't see their own life from the trees. They can't just correct. They can't just say, I want to grow big, I want to do this. They're just sort of in that sort of stuck, not able to move forward, or being sort of controlled by depletion, burnout, or negative emotions like anger, sadness, depression. Okay, so it's a hot potato between anxiety and depression, and then you're then supposed to think that you're supposed to then continue living this way. Is the fallacy. That's the erroneous thinking. The hypervigilance, which means hyper attending to, and having that always, even if they're gone. So what are the symptoms of covert? So they always look like they're the good guy, the righteous, the most moral, the most upstanding. Okay, they are responsible for some great thing. Okay, but everybody, including you, should be responsible for great things and have them okay that with you, and able to have, without a sugar coating or an explosive coating, where all of a sudden you're just in that throw something down, you're like, oh my, why did they just throw that? Why does that loud sound? Why are they stomping? Why are they storming out of the room? And then I am, so, and then your very being basically is then filled with this, I did something wrong. Like, and then so you're all of a sudden, your I am becomes just like you're on a witness protection stand, you're showing up to court on the daily. Like you're ready to be criticized. You're just ready, to be to be at a loss. You're ready. What's going to happen? I mean, this is reality, but a covert narcissist, the problem with their relation is they deny you your reality, which is real, but they don't value or validate it as such. So I am, it shouldn't take this long. I shouldn't be neglected. I should be communication. I need direction. I need food at the same time. I need coffee. Whatever it is, you should be able to identify it and then have like 1 to 2 seconds where it then is able to be communicated. Not that it's like you've been holding on to this feeling, for 3 years, and you're just gonna wobble over and just all of a sudden you're like, I had to get that out, or you find you're like, this is enough. When you finally get enough pain in your body, in other words, your body will know, anxiety, body-focused repetitive behavior, chewing your nails. What are you, a squirrel trying to sharp? No, that's an anxiety behavior, a body-focused repetitive behavior. And it's negative, meaning it's anxiety, trying to shake it out. Rather than dancing, doing the samba, you're chewing your nails. Some people have repetitive scratching. They're bleeding from someplace on their head, their elbow. You're like, why do you have a sore? Picking their fingernails or toes or toenails. Oh, this is just better than going to the manicurist. And then they start, all ripping their hair out of the trichomelia, pulling your eyelashes, eyebrows, or hair out, or being sort of hyper-focused. These people who have always one hair and they're sort of, ouch. But that ouch creates a pain and then an endorphin release. So they're trying to relieve pain in some sort of weird place. It's like you're looking for love, like those little infants, and you're a shopaholic. You can't stop touching fabric. Maybe you should be a seamstress or a seamster or whatever. Maybe you should look at that and go, man, maybe I need some hand holding. Wouldn't that be better than sublimating? Okay, Freud, sublimating, trying to sublimate, or sublimating, according to Freud, is when you replace like a legitimate outlet with another. Meaning, it's like if you go and, kick the dog or yell at the dog, get out of my way, the dog is walking around, okay? It's that person, bad day. Same thing with a covert narcissist. It's not you. It's just they're always having that day. Maybe that's just who they are. You can't be mad at a collie dog for being an I Love Lucy collie dog. You can't be mad at an oak tree for being an oak tree. You can't be mad at a woman for being a woman. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't be mad. This is how they are, what the parts they're made of. They're just missing some things, which causes them to brainwash, meaning try to deny, or furthermore, the worst is like sort of not see with 2 eyes and support moving forward. So you become like the emotionally blind, but yet you can see. Oh my God, you guys, everybody else just seems to be laughing, having a great time. They're going to football, soccer events, they're doing whatever. They don't have a care in the world. And you're like, I have this sort of seething feeling and tension. People who grind their teeth. Their teeth used to be so big, now it's about that big. Grinding tension, okay? Trying to release itself. It's not you that is responsible for what they are. If they're a Tesla, You can't say, but you're a Ford. You always told me you were a Ford. You're like, you've been a Tesla this whole time. You know, you can't, they don't, the problem with the covert, the deep, dangerous problem is they don't really sort of send you away. They keep you in that sort of concoction addiction state where you keep sublimating or substituting. Okay, so for a lack thereof. So in other words, people who need warmth, cheek to cheek, kissing, you know, they might be smoking all the time. You know, their lips, or, you know, something is always hitting their lips. Body, you know, these addictive negative behaviors. So in other words, maybe they just need to learn how to do deep breathing. Oh, peace and harmony, that sounds so stupid. You know, God, I heard that, you know, people, you know, they don't do that. That's just normal. You might learn to need to change the pattern of sort of looking to a lack of vision for your certain time being. Meaning, if you find you're missing out in ways that are recognizable to you, recognizable meaning every day you have a stomach ache. You know, every day you're popping a tooth. You know, you've got a headache. You don't know it, but you're grinding your teeth and you're in the sleep. You know, you should go to the dentist. Okay, do your dental checkup. Get some professionals involved. Okay, talk to people who get some things. Okay, body repetitive behavior. You've got small scabs somewhere. I mean, you know, go get a manicure, man or a woman, a pedicure. You're carving away your own toenails with some sort of weird knife, body repetitive behavior, cutting yourself. You know, these are negative. To feel alive, to see something, I'm really real. That's a negative pattern, okay? This is a result of the deprivation, like our little elephant who we're getting back to the learned helpless. Okay, so that in psychology, learned helpless, you can see it manifest. So people experience, human beings, you, me, the same thing. So this elephant was trained with a rope, okay, tied to his foot to a pole, and very small, okay, circumference. But the elephant, he wanted to go and be with his friends. He wanted to eat fruit from the trees, put his trunk up there and do, but each time his foot got stuck. So all he could do was walk around. And then the keepers, the scientists, or give him a little bit of food. No, they would train them to train, you know, and to train elephants to be circus elephants, or ride in parades or things, you know, tame them, you know, get rid of their personality, brainwash them. Sound like what happened to you? Who am I? What's my personality? Am I mainstream, off stream? Am I online, no line? Okay, don't worry about it. You're just where you are supposed to be, and I'm so glad you found the channel. Okay, so we're doing the deep dive. That elephant. Okay, then, you know, for the betterment of the trainer needs a big elephant. The elephant's going to carry water, going to carry him. Talk about getting a new Land Rover. This guy needs a new elephant. So he's going to train that elephant to be right there, okay? But the elephant normally would want to go and be with his friends because it needs to eat and pull all those good leaves from the branches. Instead, it's beginning cornmeal, some sort of substitute. The poor elephant is starving. It's going to eat that, and it's going to grow up. Okay, and then, you know, they will do some different things then with the cord, you know, and make it longer, you know, where then the elephant gets maybe a few little tries, but it's stuck. I can't do that. I can't become that. Something is holding me back. I'm stifled. I'm stuck. I don't have enough energy. And then that, you know, that elephant then gets fed that meal, no more little good apples or whatever leaves it was eating. And then the trainer goes, okay, you know, and then they'll get the right adjustment. And then eventually that elephant will stop trying. It'll stop trying to be with its friends. It'll stop trying to eat the juicy branches. It'll stop trying to go for the apple. It'll stop trying to run with the herd and do whatever they do, and mate or whatever. Okay, that elephant has learned, and they have very good memories from what they say, and then, so they have learned. And then eventually that elephant no longer needs that rope. That elephant will not walk beyond that circumference. It is learned. It cannot ever, beyond the shadow or reason of a doubt, move beyond that circumference of 60 feet, whatever it is, either way. Learned helplessness. People the same way. It's like you're trying to get up and then you got this. You're trying to speak up and you got this. You're trying to see and go, and they're not there. They don't speak. And then eventually these receptor systems, I feel, without use, they are on the loose. They're gone, okay? And then their heart, becomes, I will never love again. I will never have a relationship. I will never, and then people learn, I have a very small life. You're putting yourself in a box and basically, get yourself out of whatever pouch, whatever, limited restriction, and being able to see, the body focused behaviors that are keeping you uncomfortable. Eventually, realize that discomfort might have sort of been bred or imprinted or just sort of internalized, embedded within you, which is not your natural, okay, or not your desire. Life, I think like my grandmother said, according to my father, was life is wanting things. It keeps things going. It's okay to want things, and it's okay to need things. But oftentimes these very experiences, which are emotional in nature, you don't need this. You don't need eye contact. You don't need a hug. You don't need direction. You don't need help here. You don't need a companion. You don't need, instead, and then your life is basically instead. You have a lot of instead. You have a lot of clutter of instead. or it's not really. In psychology, what's really important to me is the application. Meaning, if we study this, what can we learn? What are the lessons learned? What can you write? Basically, 1 to 10, okay, about the covert narcissist. And what can you learn about them on the positive, okay, where you instead are alchemizing or reframing, another psychology tool of reframing. This is a great one. Let's get out your pen, pencil, no pencils. Let's get out a great pen, blue, yellow, whatever you jive to. Okay. The instead. Okay, if you can think of a big blanket, realize, so if you can feel or get a personification and a reframing of this covert narcissist as we're sort of in the privacy of this video, no matter how deep, how thick is the distance, is the wall? Are you protected like at a bank? Do you have 3 feet of steel? Do you have another code? Do you have a heart? Do you have, or not, maybe you need to work on this. But how can we reframe our view of this individual? They were limited, and because, and instead this, meaning how it felt in your body. They, which give them, assign that and give it to them in the positive, and therefore and then alchemize and realize what they were giving to you instead, and see with it in open eyes, really know what was look at the loss. Peace and harmony, that's my whole life. Man, you got a lot to do, okay? That's all I can say. You got a lot of, Liz, you got to follow these videos. We got to have these fireside chats We got to unbutton, okay, where you've been really sort of attaching or clinging or sort of knotting up either your thought process, your be process, or your physical body, knotted up in repetitive behaviors, negative feelings, or loss of the positive. Okay, so it can be kind of both, meaning, you can just, I'm always unhappy. I am always get perturbed, or something that is, or I'm missing out, and I'm, so you can kind of see where you want to change things up, especially as it feels in your body. It might be the money that you're making, the people or loss of people that you are meeting. Ultimately, it's going to come down to, we need to come to a relaxing of the body. Why? Why is this important? Because oftentimes that beaker, okay, of the concoction, the I am not, with a lack of, and which then caused you to lose an arm, lose face, lose heart, lose your looks, lose your I am, lose your chutzpah, whatever it is, your creativity, your cooking, your appetite for life, you name it. And you know it because this is your language. This is not the covert narcissist. Your own language has sort of been on muffled ears. They're showing up like a tree, one of those guys, they can't hear anything. Their own situation is so loud in their ears. They don't hear you or see you. It's okay. But the problem oftentimes is people's I am are tied to their approval. That's part of the helplessness, like that elephant. It learns, even though, no, that elephant could walk away at any time. Though they don't have an electric fence, they don't have a big cliff, they don't have that elephant could walk away, walk off the truck, walk off the plat, walk off, but it learns that it can't. It's rehearsed and rememorized so many times. I cannot. That eventually it just stops doing, and it just is a learned helpless, or what they also call subconscious. No. It becomes unconscious incompetence. So you've basically taught yourself or learned yourself or felt yourself to a state of incompetence. I cannot. So if that's the case, then that's how embedded it is. But then what on the upswing do you have in the I can? I do have, in other words, what were you taught that you couldn't, but you really can? Okay, I cannot, I cannot live without this person. I cannot move on. I am not lovable. I am not capable. I cannot, like all these, and that's in, if you were to unpack these body repetitive behaviors, it's unconscious. The people who pull out their hair, okay, they don't realize they're doing it. They think that they're focusing, but it's really releasing the endorphins so that they are creating the very feeling that they're lacking. So that's like sublimation. Someone who, they're chewing themselves, like it's a sublimation. It's a substitution for something. You need to, what's wrong head to toe here? And then where are you picking at yourself emotionally, physically, spiritually, that's not serving you? Okay? And that tension or the body, anxiety, is it still showing up? Because you have, and then it's why? Because you have learned so much, to so many frequencies, to so many times, to so many, you didn't have vision. Your prefrontal cortex was sharing that vision. I'm down. To eventually you're physically rounding your shoulders. You're like the humpback of Notre Dame. You don't ever sit up straight. You're afraid to show or be anything. You see people, and then you walk away. 20 seconds max is all you can handle. You know, you're going, God, man, something is wrong with me, dude, gal. What the is coming on with me? And then you're like, you see these people rage. I think this the digital page or digital age is not helping. You see these people rage on the road, you know, oh my God, or they have all these vehicles and they try to bully people. Their vehicles are freaking 15 by 10, or, you know, these big monster vehicles. Excuse me. They hog up, you know, try to almost use their car like a weapon. You're like, this driving is a little too aggressive for me. You're like, geez, just let them go by before they, you know, graze your car or cause you to be angry also, where you then begin resonating at the same frequency. You're then, why am I angry all the time? Why do I have tension? It's oftentimes because you have not been or validated a B state enough. You can look at those people who look like they're glued to their chair. You know those people I'm talking about. They can be 20, 30, 40. They've never, you know, they're just molded into, you know, those people, you know, they're comfortable, but they've, you know, they're just sort of given up. And you say, peace and harmony, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that person who's can never leave their house. I don't want to be the person who never goes out. I don't want to be the person who doesn't have a life. Like, I don't want to be the person on that Jerry Springer show, throwing chairs, breaking dishes, messing up your life, yelling at people, making unwise decisions, purchases, etc., throwing you into bankruptcy. You know, you need to get some things checked out. You know, things need to be held in check by you. And oftentimes those body repetitive behaviors will keep you addicted and enslaved and in a relationship with this abuser, with this individual, with this tie. So you need to alchemize and reframe and allow this to be, I would consider it, if you want to reframe it, I always think what's important is the nostalgic. If you have a little recovery gift, you know, like a golden locket that just is kind of like symptomatic of them, where, you know, or you even just know sort of they're like that little locket that just is a nostalgia, you know, they don't make them like this, or aren't they golden? Aren't they impeccable, you know, with the way that they sparkle, with all their getting in their elderly or they're older, you know, don't they have their own? And can't you just sort of get some space and distance, but let your heart reach out to them instead in the positive, instead of, and if you know, can't you just figure out a little mechanism where your heart can reach out and you just see them? You don't have to put a positive or negative, but just see them as a complete unit. You know, they're complete. They don't need me to complete them or even be tied in this way. So realize that in the body, oftentimes, that's sort of where you're still arm in arm. You're still grocery shopping with them, going to work every day, driving wherever. They're still, you know, so you're still kind of keeping them part of your relationship family. To what degree can you learn the tool of reframing and create and develop another story that keeps them in the positive, but you in the positive also, where instead you're filled, you're replacing that anger, that anxiety, that fear, whatever, that depletion with energy, bubbling up. Allow your cells to actually be without fear. How do you learn this? By practicing repetition and experience. Take a hot bath, get a hot tub, learn how to relax, and learn how to communicate from being relaxed instead of this. with your body, or walking, your recovery date. Learn how to stroll rather than bite your tongue, grind your teeth, yell at something, nod your, how can you develop repetition and experience? Oftentimes, your I am state, in the enlarged, in the full, in the balanced, without uh, sort of seeing everybody else as who they are. People who continue to have a fear of attracting the same, they're subconsciously seeing the same. I'm fearful of seeing the same. I'm fearful of, you're looking for the same. You're on that hypervigilance, so your body is still wound to them. You're still, you're like a jack in the box, and then you're going to somehow pop up every time they come around. And then you're stuck. You're spring, and then you feel broken, tattered. Mick Jagger, this place is shattered. Okay, this is painful. Okay, who else has been in this state where you've lost that very vision? Where you and somebody are like your vision. Oh boy, that's scary. Who am I now? Where am I going? Okay, talk about learned helplessness. Man, if they didn't shut the door, no, they didn't shut the door. Your eye and heart will grab onto a lot of negativity and keep it going, but you have to let that go little by little and get a little bit of rocking going on back and forth with yourself. Put a little ho-hum, hee-ha, I feel good about that. I feel good, and I feel good. And it has to generate from within. So you have to kind of recouple, reframe, anchor it within. Just like your little dance, you don't have to be John Travolta, okay? Who of us grew up with the 80s music? Love it. 80s weekend on WLS. Gotta love the 80s. John Travolta, what was that? Staying alive. Saturday Night Fever, okay? He's staying alive, You're staying alive. And then you should be singing. Get your sing back and just make it a command. An internal, I don't know what it is, peace and harmony. You say I gotta sing. You say I got a two-step. You say I gotta get it back. Not according to them, not their yucky music or whatever, not any yours, okay? And that it's not missing anything, and it doesn't throw you into a tizzy, oblivion, or a trigger. You no more got triggers aren't in your vocabulary. You then get control. A lot of people, I think, are afraid to let go of that anxiety because they're afraid, what would I be? Who would I become without? This person is responsible. So they give this person all this credit and themselves nothing. Where do you have a little credit? Why do you never assign good things to yourself? Why do you never see something good for the future? Why can you not put a foot or a step out in certain ways that you have held? In fact, if people have been sort of in that brainwashed, depleted, burnt out system too long, you might need to do some coaching, some talking, go to your primary doctor, tell them you're feeling depression. It's not that you're diagnosing yourself. You go, maybe you're embarrassed, the stigma, okay? I need something, I need someone. That takes a lot of courage. I am stuck. Walking into a doctor office and saying this, people cannot have it rolling off their tongue. They don't know when it's time to call the doctor. They need someone like me to go, let's get you going, okay? You need to go. It's embarrassed. You're afraid you can't drive there. You're sobbing. It's been bottled up. You're like a bottle of champagne. Maybe you've been bottled up for 3 decades, okay? You're ready to pop, And that pop, you don't know what's going to happen. It's okay. You can show up with tears. I saw a guy not yesterday, but the other day, who was slumped over in his chair. This poor guy, completely given up, okay? And I think he was from another country, and maybe he was waiting for something at the pharmacy, and he had just a tear. Just, you know, he was just crying from his heart, okay? Humans, he was sobbing so hard you could just see tears were just rolling down his cheek in public, in a chair, okay? The pain is great enough. Have courage. Show up. Cry in public. Cry in front of someone. This hurts. Ow. This was so painful. I'm afraid to admit it. Don't spill your beans at swine. Don't go and get yourself set up with some weird, not correct situation. In other words, you know, you're going to begin doing shipping from Amazon now to fix all this, or any of those other scams. You know, no. We must look at and process and alchemize those knots. Woohoo! You know, it's like spaghetti that was delicious, but then you got some that's just, don't eat that one, or something of the same. Meaning, realize where your muscles, you know, can begin to just relax and be and talk to someone at a new level, at your job, at your neighborhood, beginning to speak up, and instead displaying a bit of sophistication, a bit of class, a bit of togetherness. Oh wow, peace and harmony. Not fake, but that you recognize and relate to. You're going from putting on, you know, the zip up, it makes you one of those fluffy things that make you into a Snoopy-Doo or whatever, some sort of tiger. You know, those, you know, you might need to grow from those adult onesies, okay, to something a little bit more where you could be presentable, or sort of help yourself to move on so you're not physically reinforcing the stuck behavior. I don't have a calendar yet. Get a great new calendar with whatever it is that you like. Begin to circle in some recovery dates. What are these? Where you might have a whole week. You might have a new tool. So a great tool that you can do to learn, okay? Men and women taking a bath, going to a sauna, joining a gym, getting some aromatherapy going. Not funky, but nice. You know, new smell soap, men and women. You know, switch up your being. Look at your pants. You know, are you wearing stuff that is too tight, is not becoming? Throw it out. Okay? Stuff that reinforces a negativity about you. Alchemize it. Get rid of it from your closet, your emotional closet, or your kitchen cupboard. What is it where you are now degrading? Sort of still stuck on the degraded lifestyle. You know, and then you keep attracting you know, and because you feel this fit, and because a new relationship should and will feel different, okay? That is part of the growth problem or issue, or what we need to get to, is that very much like an alcoholic who's used to always getting drunk, is going to show up sober. You know, he might have some other medication. He might be doing some saunas, meditating, hot Epsom salt bath. Go and get yourself Epsom salts, bubble bath, okay? Something and nice hot, and get used to your body relaxing. Going, going for a swim, a hot tub, or get one delivered to your home. Do something where you can change it up. Change up your towels. Change up your flooring or your rug. Get something better. Move, okay? Get a pet. Get a different pet. Get something going on where you are, instead of vacillating, wavering, floundering, sort of still stuck in I can't. Where's that still living in you? And let's sort of anesthetize it and live it out. Like, live and reframe it, okay? And don't call yourself a dummy. Okay, I can see I've got more energy now. It's because this and this is burning me out. I need to do it this way now. I need to oftentimes slow down to speed up, or we need to throw out, we need to make room to get new. Okay, so we're going to do that. A tool, once again, is learning how to reframe and pull us, a little, what's a little bit new move about yourself that goes a little bit like, I'm self-owned. I'm a self-owned millionaire. I'm a self-made millionaire. I'm a self-made woman. I'm a self-made, or I'm a content. What is the you that you always wanted to be? Okay. I am rough around the edges, polished, passionate, helping people, performing magic, helping people be creative. What is the new little that you gonna move out? You got a new little, okay, I feel good now. I work the kinks out. What do you need to do? Okay? And oftentimes it's just the not doing in a different way, and realizing, and where you were sublimating, I need to stop chewing my teeth down. I need to get a night guard. I need to make a doctor appointment. I need to go on antidepressants. And I won't and don't have a stigma about how I'm feeling. Take it off like a sweatshirt. Take off the stigma. What and how would you better represent you, rather than saying, I don't know. How can you come up with one of these? I got me. I got this. You don't do it to show or anything, but it's a change. Okay? Not I need a new purse, all the consumerism. Where can you, I got this. Okay? And you can then have a respect for the etheric energy around you that's wanting to speak forward, because your subconscious precedes you. And so you need to kind of do some work on that sort of unknown, and which is just basically the nameless, but it's where you're more powerful than them. Oftentimes if people have been really into abuse, they don't know that they have any power, any creativity, any positive, anything that they can do or have that makes them different, where they can meet people, make money, become more and more, a little bit more comfortable, healthier, okay? Or maybe you're just doing a refresher right now. And then reframing. So, and you can write it down, because it's very scary to see the answers. People who are living in denial and not sort of making a change, I would say, is because they're so habituated, and then they feel that their self-worth somehow is tied. But don't allow the tie to be negative. Allow the tie to be positive. And if it kept you too close, allow it to give you some room. If it kept you too tight, allow it to loosen up. If it was too loose, allow it to pack it down and get some discipline. Okay? You're sometimes going to have to do the do. Whatever that means for you, what does it mean? Where you're really going, oh, I just need to walk. I just need to cook. I just need to breathe. I just need to get off the phone. And then just do it when the pain is great enough. Ooh, boy. Alligators biting your arm. Ow. The pain is great enough. You're like, okay, I can ask for help. I can. There's no stigma. It doesn't mean I'm looked down upon, frowned upon, because generally that's part of leaving the abuse is I'm not getting the approval. I don't have their approval, which is part of what you kind of, you kind of wanted. You have to go, okay. And you just sort of do a Etch-a-Sketch all over it, okay? And realize approval, interesting. And realize what you really, interesting. I really wanted, okay. And then you can kind of say, okay. And, certain pretzels are always going to be pretzels. So what I'm saying is being able to reframe and alchemize and moving forward. So in other words, knowing that your subconscious precedes you, how can you give that a push and go, oh, and oftentimes it's not something that you have been doing. You're like, how can I change up what I have been doing? Sometimes it's just doing what you weren't doing, and it's sometimes very simple. I need to start taking pictures, going for a walk, cooking for myself, getting off alcohol, getting off drugs, getting off sugar, carbs, getting off this town, getting off whatever, getting off Instagram, and write it down. That's the scariest part. But if you really want to get a bang for your healing, write it down and you'll see exactly looking back. These categories. You need a pen and a notebook. Watch the video again. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share. Please subscribe. And for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. You got this. You know this. You are this. You have this. Peace out. Have a beautiful day. Remember, it's going to feel and be different. You'll attract that.